Hello everyone, this is Satyaprakash. Welcome to Coding Knowledge. In this video, I'll describe what is workspace and staging area in Git. So in this video, we'll describe few points. These are Git flow with an example of workspace and what is the staging area. So before going through this Git flow diagram, I need to create one GitHub repository in my GitHub account. So here, I'll create one new repository. That is, a click here and create a new repository here. So here I'll create a new repository that is Satya2, and description is this repo is used for development purpose, and I make it as public repository and add a readme file. So I already have described how to create a repository in my previous videos. You can go through that. I have added this link in my description section, that is Git and GitHub tutorial. So after then I click on create repository here, and it will create a new repository with name that is Satya2. Okay, now you can see my repository created with file readme.md. After then I'll create two folder. One is dev1, another one is dev2. So here I'll create one local workspace that is for dev1, and another local workspace I'll create for dev2. Okay, now I'll go to my slide here, and I'll describe what is the diagram presents. So here GitHub is my GitHub account, that is Mohan CS GitHub, and I have created two repository called Satya1 and Satya2. As of now, I'll take it Satya2 as my as this example for using, and so I describe this example by taking the repository called Satya2. So on this Satya2 repository, there are two developers called local dev1 and local dev2, and these two developers are from different location. That is, local dev1 is from UK location and local dev2 is from India location. So here local dev1 is working on two different projects. So the local dev1 cloned from two different repository called Satya1 and Satya2, and here local dev2 is working on one project. So local dev2 cloned from one repository called Satya2. So here, so how to create repository and clone repository? For this you need to visit my previous videos, which links are mentioned in my description section, that is Git and GitHub tutorial playlist. So now I already have created two different folders called dev1 dev2 in my local machine, and now I clone the Satya2 repository from GitHub using git bash. After successful clone, I'll check what is the contents inside it. So before this, I go to my GitHub repository here. I need to, for clone purpose, I need to click this HTTP link. It's copied successfully, and go to dev1, and here I right click and git bash. So git bash will open, and for local dev1 I'll clone this repository. So it will show my directory of local git1, my git repo yt and dev1. Here I'll clone this repository, but I copy the HTTPS link for this GitHub repository. Okay. Oh, now I just clear the screen. So I git clone, and okay, now I just right click here. So git clone, and what I copy here, the link I copied here, the link is not copied successfully, so I want to copy again. So this is copied now, so I want to copy here. I want to copy from my notepad, and here I'll go to my git bash, and here I'll Okay, now it's working fine, and git clone, and after then click enter. So it started cloning into Satya2 folder. Now you can successfully see that Satya2 folder is created. It is nothing but the GitHub repository. Now the repository is created successfully. For dev1, I clone the Satya2 repository here. Now same process I'll do for dev2 folder, and here I'll do the same thing. I just close this git bash for local dev1. I just right click here for local dev2 and git bash here. And here I'll do the same process for git clone, and here you'll see the dev2 directory here, and here I'll put git clone and mention this URL. Now it will start cloning into Satya2 folder. Now dev2 workspace, it contains the Satya2 repository successfully. Okay, now I just close this one. Now you can see dev2 contains the Satya2 folder. It's nothing but our GitHub repository what we have created in our GitHub account. The same repository we clone for dev1 and dev2 folder. Okay, now now after cloning the Satya2 repository from GitHub using git bash, so I'll show you Satya2 repo in GitHub. So Satya2 repo in GitHub is this one, Satya2 repo. It is GitHub account. Using GitHub we have created this Satya2 repository, and after cloning, so dev1 contains the same repository Satya2, and here dev2 also contains the same repository called Satya2. Now local dev1 and local dev2 clone the single repository called Satya2. Here the physical files, that means where we created the files in local repository, that is nothing but the workspace. So there is one workspace for each developer called workspace 1, because here Satya dev1 contains the one same GitHub repository called Satya2. It is nothing but the workspace 1, and dev2 contains the same GitHub repository called Satya2. It is nothing but the workspace 1. So there is one workspace for each developer. That's why it is called workspace 1. Now go to this dev1 folder. So I just click open the Satya2, and here you can see .git folder and a readme.md file. So that is nothing but the workspace 1 for local dev1. And here we'll go to the dev2 folder and open this Satya2 repository. Here you will see the same files .git and readme.md. That is also workspace 1 for local dev2. So here .git folder and readme.md are nothing but the physical files. So when I created any physical files in a local and want to push those files to GitHub repository, then first I need to add those files in staging area or logical area in workspace 1. So workspace 1 contains some physical not physical area, it contains some staging area or logical area. It should not be a physical area. Okay, now we know about we have described already how to clone, and after the clone, what is the GitHub, what is the Satya2 repository contains these folders, and what is the meaning by this folders, the .git and readme.file. It's nothing but the workspace 1 for dev1 and dev2 each. Now go to my slide here. Okay, now we can see here, I will describe it briefly. So here GitHub account, here the Satya1, Satya2 I already have created in my GitHub account, and there is local dev1. This is the workspace 1 for local dev1, and this is the local dev2. This is workspace 1 for local dev2. Workspace 1, why it is mentioned? Because the same GitHub repository we have cloned from GitHub repository to local Git. That's why it is called workspace 1 for local dev1 and workspace 1 for local dev2. So local dev 1, why it is content .git 2 folders, because I have mentioned in the example that local dev 1 can work on 2 projects. That's why it's contains 2 .git folder. So .git folder is nothing but the physical files, and here local dev 2 contains 1 .git folder. So .git folder nothing but it's the physical files, and local dev 1 can work only 1 project. That's why it contains 1 .git folder. And .git folder, it's after then I have mentioned one staging part. So staging part is nothing but the logical, it is not a physical area, it is a logical area. So before going for pushing and commit the changes, we need to transfer files from our local workspace to our staging part. After then it will, that's why I mentioned 2 arrows, that is the files will be moved here from staging area and from staging area to .git. After then these files are ready to be committed and ready to be pushed to our GitHub repository, nothing but a remote repository or GitHub repository. And here I mention that is clone and pull. I already have described this difference between git clone and git pull in my previous videos. You need to go through that. So I already have described everything what is this git flow diagram presents, and next I'll go to what is the staging area. So this staging area will contain the files before final commit to git. See, these files are ready to be committed once it moves to the staging area. So for example, I created or modified 10 more files in my local, but I want to push only 2 files out of 10 files to GitHub repository. So in that case, I want to add these 2 files to my staging area. These 2 files in staging area indicates that they are ready to be committed. So that is the functionality behind the staging area. Okay, this is my YouTube channel, Coding Knowledge. Subscribe, share it to get the up-to-date knowledge on .NET Core, Angular, SQL Server, C#, DevOps series, Jenkins, GitHub, and Blazor. So in finally summary, what we have learned today in this video, that is git flow with an example of workspace, and what is staging area, and what are the functionality behind the workspace, and what is the staging area, and how multiple developers can work on same repository with the workspace 1, and what are the functionalities behind the staging area. So that's for it today guys. Thank you for listening and have a great day.